This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, February 10th, 2006, and this is episode number 60 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hodgberg from mgmstudios.org. On today's show, we've got Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome back, Mike.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Outstanding. And nothing says a Walt Disney World Today podcast like Mike Scopa. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Welcome, weary travelers, to the great, big universe of XS.
Welcome, weary travelers. Yeah, you gotta say it right, exactly.
And rounding out our panel is the co-author of the unofficial guide to Walt Disney World and Olympic hopeful, Len Testa. Welcome, Len.
Is beer drinking a sport again? Hold on. I had no idea. Hello.
Before we get started today, Len, I believe we have a correction from last episode 59.
Yeah, I think this is one of the problems with being such a popular podcast is the minute I screw up, there's someone out there willing to correct me, and in this case it was Steve Seifert, alias Tiki Man, who noticed that the restaurant I was talking about in the last episode about Club 33 was actually the Blue Bayou.
Right. And
so Steve corrected me on that. So as Roseanne and Dana once said on Saturday Night Live, never mind. Club 33 is completely separate from the Pirates of the Caribbean thing. The Blue Bayou is the restaurant over Pirates of the Caribbean. Steve actually put a good explanation of this on the website, so my fault on that.
Yep, and
thanks, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Steve for correcting us. And you can read all this kind of useful information and post your own comments about any of the episodes we record right on our website in the comment section. We've gotten some great comments lately, especially Steve correcting us. Luckily, no one has picked up on the fact that I called Disney the Swiss Family Tree has the tallest location in Magic Kingdom.
Only off by like 120 feet. It's cool.
Yeah. Other than that. Well, today we're doing a question show, and if you're raising your eyebrow a little bit saying, whoa, guys, it's Friday, February 10th, or whenever you're listening to this, we're actually going to be doing question shows for the rest of the month, partly because we've got so many, and we don't want these questions just to sit around in the email box and linger around, so we're trying to get to them, and hope the rest of this month in February we're going to be doing questions. So let's get started. If you'd like your questions answered, of course, feel free to email us. You can email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. Our first email is actually a comment from John Sulander, who writes, in episode 34, someone was staying at Boardwalk and asked about getting groceries. All of the Disney Vacation Club resorts offer grocery or convenience stores. It was suggested that rather than buying groceries there, the listener should go to Gooding's at Crossroads. We have from the Winn-Dixie and Publix grocery stores, which are both less than 1 mile from the Gooding store, to be more in line with quote-unquote normal grocery store prices with a much better selection. Keep up the great work. I think I agree with John that the prices in Gooding's, although off Disney property, are still fairly high in terms of the grand scheme of groceries.
That's been the case for as long as I've been going down there, Matt. I think that may be worth trying to find a store right off of, I think it's 535, which is pretty close to the Disney property.
Yeah.
Right near, it's pretty close to Celebration too. I would take a little drive down that road and look to see if there's a grocery store that might have what people want. But I agree, Gooding's is it's too high.
I used to work at a Publix. I thought I'd throw that in there. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we can't have them on the show. It's just a...
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just flew down.
There goes that sponsorship.
Well.
Our next question comes from Michael Grabenstein, who writes, okay, I love the Animal Kingdom, so I have a bias. My point is that if you have children, as I do, with you that are under the age of 10, it is a great park and is a full-day park. You mentioned the difference with kids once before, but with the constant comments on the park, I think he's talking to me here. I
like the park, Michael.
I think the kid angle needs to be repeated now and then. I'll agree with you, Michael, that certainly not in the Animal Kingdom. Sometimes we also take a little bit of a higher road than the kid angle to a lot of these attractions. And you do have a point that I'm sure lots of kids love digging in the big sandbox over there in Dinoland USA and doing all those things. But I think that one of the advantages, what we try to hold the Animal Kingdom to is these standards that were set by the other parks, where attractions are able to be enjoyed by everyone. I mean, you don't have to be 7 years old to enjoy a particular attraction. I mean, a good example. I mean, take Splash Mountain for instance. You might not bring your really young children on there, but you know, it's got a story that's really suited for children, but still has elements of it that are enjoyable by adults, and you can make the case for nearly many of the attractions at Magic Kingdom. Guys, what are your thoughts about that?
Mr. Scopa?
Well, I have this little thing about Animal Kingdom too. I think that Matt's point is very well taken, and I judge every single attraction from what Walt's philosophy was, and that was that he wanted to build an amusement park, as he calls it, that the whole family can enjoy. So I judge every attraction and every theme park in that manner, and that's why I have a little bit of an issue with Animal Kingdom, but I don't know if I would say it's a full day worth of touring over there. Maybe the first time you visit it, but I'm not sure if repeat visitors would agree with me. I don't know. I'm biased.
Give these guys some sanity.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. That's my least. That's my least visited park when we go, and we don't have children, so I go. I spend the most time in Epcot, only because it's more adult oriented, I think. So that's a little bias on my end.
So I'm the only one that likes the park of the four of us.
It appears that way.
I'm not saying I don't like
it. There's nothing wrong with the park. I mean, there aren't as many attractions, but I mean, other than Everest, and Dinosaur, really, what can't little kids go on? I mean, there's animal exhibits for the kids. There's
how about Fun to be a Bug? I've seen so. Oh, now you got me going.
Fun to be a Bug?
What is it? Is it Tough to be a Bug?
Tough
or is
to
it
be
fun?
a Bug.
Tough to be a Bug.
That's how often I go.
Fun to be a Bug.
I don't know. All I know is that the last time my wife and I were there, we came out of that attraction. There had to be at least count them, 4 mothers on their knees saying, "It's not a real grasshopper. It's not a real bug. Why are you crying?"
All right,
these kids are crying.
Okay, point taken. But
and then there's the children who will come out, soaking wet and crying on Kali River Rapids.
I think that's actually the appeal of the attraction is that you get wet. I mean, in January it's one thing.
Yeah.
Festival of the Lion King is great. I got to admit that is one of the attractions that draws me to that park. And frankly speaking, Tarzan Rocks drove me to that park. But after Tarzan Rocks, Festival of the Lion King, I'm done. Maybe Everest will draw me a little bit now, but that's a 3-hour park for me, maybe 4-hour park, and I'm out of there. Yeah.
Well, it takes longer to drive over than it does for Scope to stay. No, I mean, all right, I'll disagree. I mean, I think Mini Mickey is good for kids. I think there are lots of animal exhibits that are fantastic. Flights of Wonder is very, very good for kids. Dinoland, I don't personally love it. Kids do. And there's a trade-off there.
Can we agree on something, and that is that maybe the opinion of like Mike and Matt and myself regarding the Animal Kingdom could very well have been different had they completely developed Beastly Kingdom? Can we say that maybe?
Yeah, I mean, once they finish the park, it'll be great, right?
Assuming they do a good job.
We should all live so long. Boy, we should all live so long.
Well, our next question probably feeds well into what we were just talking about, because Dan Krakowski writes to us, what's the point of this podcast? It seems that you hate most everything Disney, like Animal Kingdom, Disney websites, etc. Do you ever go back and listen to some of your podcasts? I think you may need a vacation to maybe Six Flags or Busch Gardens.
Six Flags.
Well, Dan, good point. I mean, actually, it's kind of funny. I don't cover the Universal Parks for the guide, simply because I like Disney so much. And I know I think all of us like something about all the parks. I mean, and just for the Animal Kingdom thing is a good example. At least one of us likes it.
Yeah,
but we might disagree about certain aspects of it, but I think we're all big Disney fans.
Yeah, if we wouldn't like it, why do we go so much?
And I wouldn't want to be
that's something to complain about, but
I don't want to be a shill for Disney. I don't want to be accused of being in their back pocket, but I also don't want to be accused of being negative all the time. If I wanted to be negative all the time, I'd work for, there's a certain site out there that I don't want to mention, but I work for that site, But we need to be honest, and we need to give our opinions, and that's what we're here for. If we weren't going to be honest, then we wouldn't even be here.
We don't have to spend hours talking about how great, Splash Mountain is. Everyone knows that. I mean, it's the things that we try to point out the differences. We don't want to be just sitting here. I mean, it's not everything about Disney is wonderful. I think we all agree on that. And, we point out the bad, and we also point out the good. Like the Disney MGM Studios and...
and Pop Century.
Says it's good logic, like Disney's Pop Century Resort.
We actually do have some real questions, though, this show. Robert of Roswell, Georgia writes, I'm planning a trip to Disney World for May, and we are staying at the Port Orleans French Quarter. My kids are 9, 7, 5, and 3. I would like to hear your comments on fun things to do outside the parks. We arrive on Wednesday around 2 p.m. and will not go into the parks until Thursday. One thing we did last time at Disney was to ride the monorail. The kids loved it, and it got them excited about the parks for the next day, plus it was free. Do you have any other ideas for fun things to do that do not require a park pass?
Why don't you go to Fantasia Gardens?
I was just going to say the same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Great
That's
idea.
scary. That's scary, Tester. That's really scary. go over to Fantasia Gardens and play some miniature golf, and then finish the night off at Beaches and Cream.
Now, I was going to say either Boardwalk is not the resort like is in the hotel, but the area around it where you can walk around is great. I mean, you don't have to spend a dime. You can just walk around there. It's really nice, especially at night if you catch the Epcot fireworks from outside of Epcot.
Free. Yep.
Free. And the other thing is I also like going to you go downtown Disney. It's a nice little walk over there. You don't have to go.
Yep.
I mean, you can just browse the shops, see what's around. The walk alone will burn up an hour or two. So depending on what you do there. So I mean, there's some options. Anything else?
Isn't there a boat ride from Riverside or French Quarter to
Riverside to
downtown Disney?
Downtown Disney, yeah, definitely take the boat. It's much more scenic and free.
And free.
Yep.
We like free.
Our next question comes from Jeff Willemstein of Zeeland, Michigan, who writes, I'm traveling with a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 kids aged 4, to Disney in April for 5 days. I'm wondering about the best option for ticket purchase for us. We are thinking of purchasing the 10-day park hopper and adding the no expiration option, as we are quite certain we will be going back within 3 to 5 years. Is this the best value for us right now, given the significant increases in park ticket prices? I think I heard this on episode 51, just confirming. It sounds like they're taking this one trip and then they won't be back again for another 3 to 5 years.
The no expiration option, it depends on how many days Jeff. How many days is Jeff going to use now?
5 days.
5.
He's going to April for 5 days. I'm not sure if that's 5 days in the parks or 5 days in Florida. I'm not sure. Let's assume 5 days in the park.
Yeah, and actually, somebody brought up a good point to Scopa and I on an email on this, is that in this case, it might be better than buying an annual pass, because the annual pass obviously expires after a year. So yeah, that might be the least expensive option. You might want to sign up, Jeff, for the Mouse Savers newsletter, because they have Mary runs a specials only in the newsletter, not on our website, for Ticketmania, and some of those prices have been very, very good recently. So sign up for the Mouse Savers newsletter and look for it. I think it's I believe it's weekly or monthly, and they would have Ticketmania specials. You also want to check Maple Leaf Tickets and theofficialticketcenter.com.
I think, though, for assuming, Jeff, that you're positive you're not going back within the year, or at least before ticket prices go up, which tend to go up again in January, usually, of whatever year you're going, that I think that his plan sounds good, right? Assuming he just sticks that way.
What do you think, Scopa?
I think so. The only thing I was going to mention was that as they get closer to the end of their vacation, if they really think they would just be back for 5 days, stick with the 10-day. But let's say they use 5 days and they have 5 left, and they're thinking, when we come back, we really want to come back for a week. Before they leave, I would go over to guest services and upgrade whatever they have left to 7 days, and then leave with that. They really need to think about how many days. Just if they're going to freeze a price, you might as well freeze it for the entire length of stay that they expect to be dealing with in their return trip. Now, what were the ages of the kids?
They're both 4.
Yeah. See, when they come back, 5 days may not be enough. If they come back in a couple of years, the kids will be able to do more. They'll be older, so they may need more time in the park. So that's something to consider. Maybe upgrading it to a 7-day Magic Your Way park hopper or no expiration pass.
Yeah, and those last extra 2 days will be prorated too at the lower rate. So that's.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty smart actually.
Of course. That's why you're paying me the big bucks.
Our next question comes from Bob from Delaware, who writes, "We are headed to Disney in June and are staying at the Contemporary." It's the majority choice. Sounds like Bob isn't too hot about staying on the Contemporary Resort. But he writes, "I'm concerned about the rehab that's going on and I'm having a hard time getting an update. Do you have any information about the rehab going on at the Contemporary Resort?"
Len, you want to go first? What you do?
No, you can do it. Or should I?
do it? Oh,
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
all I know is that I know that the South Garden Wing is going through some refurbishment, and I believe that refurbishment is slated to continue through September. They're doing renovations on the remainder of the Contemporary Resort. The tower building, I think, is being done one floor at a time, and then I believe once they finish with the tower, they're going to move over to the North Garden Wing, and that's going to take at least through October of next year. So the Contemporary is going to be going through some changes over the next year and a half.
And the tower's supposed to be done this month, though, right?
I am not sure. I'm not sure.
I heard it was supposed to be done in February. I mean, even if they're off by a month or so, they should be fine for Bob's trip.
Right.
In June. One thing I would say, Bob, if you get the chance, ask for a refurbished room. Because they're spectacular.
Oh, really? They're nice.
Oh, yeah, they're great. So if you can call up and make a request on your reservation, definitely do so.
It now looks contemporary. They now look like contemporary rooms.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of yesteryear rooms. Yeah.
Contemporary Vegas of the 70s. Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
I don't love the contemporary. Let's go back.
Well, that's it for us today. This has been episode number 60 of Walt Disney World Today. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Len Tosta, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.